GP Oakland. Hello and welcome back to coverage here of GP Oakland. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I'm in the booth with Eduardo Sajgalik. We've got Michael Burnett playing Paul Rietzel down in the feature match area. Two professional level players here. Paul Rietzel, of course, in the Hall of Fame. Burnett, not quite there yet, but what a great run he had at the last Pro Tour. And I mean that kind of literally, the last Pro Tour.
The last event called the Pro Tour.
That's right. And he ran it up all the way to a top 8. I got to watch him play his win again against Luis Scott Vargas, and he won that one. It was like, whoa, buddy. Nice work. Izzet Phoenix is the weapon of choice here for Michael. On the other side of the table, Paul Rietzel. Boy, I got to say, this is a scary deck to put in the hands of somebody like Paul Rietzel. This is hardened scales, and this combines complicated combat math with raw power in ways that few decks do, and those are kind of Paul Rietzel's strengths.
Yeah, this is the deck that Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa has called the hardest deck to play in Modern. Hardened Scales Affinity. And a lot of it comes from having a lot of decisions, a lot of complicated math. It's also one of the hardest decks to play against. We saw it in the feature match area. Having to figure out that combat math as the opponent can also be extremely difficult. Here, Paul deciding to take Steel Overseer, by the way, was actually a really difficult choice. Normally, it's one of the premier cards in the deck, but against a deck like the Izzet Phoenix deck that's usually chock full of cards like Lightning Bolt, sometimes even something like Gut Shot, it can easily backfire where they get ahead on tempo, and it's a lot more difficult to come back from that. So yeah, that's why normally Steel Overseer it tends to be the card you remove pretty quickly against the Izzet Phoenix deck, since they just get more efficient ways of getting rid of it. But we might see Paul deciding to essentially take it slow here rather than playing on turn 2 with Pendelhaven in play, deciding to wait till turn 3, so at least you can fight a Gut Shot. A Lightning Bolt would still take care of it, but that's actually at least a card.
He's going to set up with Animation Module. One of the more powerful engines in this deck.
And one of the more interesting ones for sure. It kind of came late into the Hardened Scales deck. It wasn't in the original versions of it.
It looks so clunky, right? You read it and you just think, it's not worth the payoff. I'm not going to be activating it that often with the 3 in a tap. Modern's a fast format. It doesn't really give you the luxury of playing around with an animation module on that level, but boy, it pulls its weight. It really does. It turns out making the 1/1 colorless servo for 1 is excellent, especially in combination with Arcbound Ravager. It's just more food for it.
Yeah, Hangerback Walker works with it as well.
Yes.
It just gives Kicker 1, get a servo. But by the way, triple mana Morphos. If Michael can, on top of the 4 damage that's coming out, there's still 2 mana left. If Michael can bin some Arclight Phoenixes, this might be a ton of damage this turn and put Paul under a lot of pressure. So here it's really, can Michael Burnett find the Arclight Phoenix and also a way to get rid of it? You still have to discard it. Faithless Looting being the key card for that.
So this is huge here. Rietzel has to kind of hold his breath and hope that Michael doesn't find 1 or even 2 copies of that namesake card, Arclight Phoenix, for this deck. Boy, because, I mean, if Michael Burnett just cycled 3 mana Morphos and then says, okay, hit you for 4 or whatever, it's like, sure. It's a Lightning Bolt.
Yeah,
that's got 1 mana left.
Yeah, Lightning Bolt is probably on the more okay side of things here to receive. The card that Paul would have had trouble though with is Thing in the Ice. Hardened Scales Affinity is a very board-centric deck, and something like
Jeez,
oh yeah, here's the damage.
Damage though, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 damage. Right?
5 plus 2 plus 3. Plus 1. Yeah.
11.
Yeah. Take it. Taste it.
Wow. Monastery Swift Spear just doing serious work here for Burnett. Who needs an Arclight Phoenix?
I think Michael would still have liked to discard an Arclight Phoenix.
Fair enough. He didn't actually use the mana, by the way, from the Spirebluff Canal there either. So what does he have? What's left?
Could be a second Lightning Bolt.
Would he not have just fired it off? Oh, he might want to save it for something like this.
I mean, with Pendelhaven in play, yeah. But here, Paul being under so much pressure is kind of forced to make a servo. And this is kind of where the animation module is nice. It just prevents damage. Kind of cleanly, actually. Just block the servo on the Swift Spear. And I think we're going to see... if he's getting the land now, there's a high chance I'm going to see a hard cast Arclight Phoenix. I mean, it's good enough on this board. That's all you need. Skyline Legionnaire +1 mana. That's really the only thing you need. Deals free damage. Paul's at 8. Yeah, as you said, that Monastery Spear though. Wow, that was a lot of damage. And here we go.
It was, and there's that Arclight Phoenix, just the good old-fashioned way. And while the Monastery Swift Spear doesn't look like a fantastic attacker here, the Arclight Phoenix getting in for 3 is going to make short work of Rietzel if he can't find ways to deal with it. Now, he's got a pretty nice setup, but we'll note here there are no hardened scales on the battlefield, so he's kind of playing in fair mode here.
Yeah, I do wonder about the Swift Spear here. Since Paul already has an animation module in play, it's going to be hard to get capitalized value off the Swift Spear. So I wonder here if Michael Bernat was better off attacking with Swift Spear and trading it for the Walking Ballista if Paul were to block. And if Paul doesn't block, it's a point of damage, which doesn't matter. Yeah. Welling Jar, though, a really nice little defensive tool for the Steel Overseer. Although with Paul at 5, all of a sudden the removal spells are not as important as just surviving. And Paul in a rough spot here. Even using 2 mana for the Steel Overseer means that at that point, Paul could be able to animate the Blink Moth Nexus to block, but that just would not be as attractive since you wouldn't have access to Pendelhaven. But just passing the turn is also not that great. But it could stop a potential attack from Michael. Phyrexia's Core, though, is really sweet one. I've seen it as a 1 or 2 of in these Hardened Scales deck. The decks have space for 1 or 2 extra kind of bonus lands. Mm-hmm. This is one of them. The other one would be Llanowar Reborn, if you were wondering. But yeah, if you want to read the text on the card here. Just sacrificing an artifact doesn't look important until you realize that Hangerback Walker is in this deck.
That's right. And sometimes Hangerback Walker gets a huge number of +1/+1 counters on it, but you have a hard time converting those to value because you don't have a way to kill your creature. So Phyrexia's Core does that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the key interaction there, Phyrexia's Core and Hangerback Walker. I mean, gaining 1 life doesn't seem like much, but even
0 life.
Yeah, gaining 1 life can be important in a matchup like this second card.
Ooh, a second Arclight Phoenix. So for Michael Bernat, he's going to get in the red zone with both of them, forcing Paul Rietzel to do something. In this case, it's going to be activate Inkmoth Nexus and block. This is just to survive.
Yeah, so now Paul is going to consider whether or not to use the Welling Jar on the Inkmoth Nexus. And this game is still really close, you know? I mean...
Is it?
Michael's ahead, but not by as much as you would believe. Paul doesn't need
2 lethal flying threats in the air, right?
Well, he has a Lightning Bolt. That's the actual part that matters.
So do you think that matters, or what's your expert opinion on Lightning Bolt when your opponent's at 2 and doesn't make counter spells?
Excellent.
Okay.
The thing,
approve?
Yes. Without Lightning Bolt, though, it was actually pretty close. Paul would have access to at least 2 flying blockers plus Steel Overseer, Walking Ballista. So 1 or 2 turns, and Paul could have taken it back, but that second Lightning Bolt is going to take the game down for Michael Bernat.
It all came to that 1 turn, right? The Monastery Swift Spear getting pumped up by 3 mana Morphos, a Lightning Bolt, and a Mutagenic Growth all in the same turn, plus all the triggers, and he just crashed in for a ton of damage and really made it so that Paul didn't have any wiggle room for the rest of the game. And then, you know, a fortunate draw like a Lightning Bolt or something like that is just enough to finish it off.
Yeah, like there was already so much, you know, those mana Morphoses essentially dealt 1 damage each. And, you know, didn't cost a card, so it was just 1 free damage, essentially.
Yes. Yeah, that was like a free Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, and it's a free Lightning Bolt to the dome. It gave Kicker as well to Mutagenic Growth and Lightning Bolt, you know, it made them slightly better. That's why Monasteries...
Why doesn't every deck play Manamorphose that can cast it in?
Well,
isn't it just free?
Kind of.
Is it not?
I mean,
Talk to me. Give me a lesson here.
They could. The first thing is they could counter it, and also you start running into problems like people having Thalia, Guardian of Fraven in their main deck, not really targeting you.
That's annoying.
Yeah,
the freeness level is going down by the minute here.
Right. Also, you have to add mana at times you may not want to. like, let's say you have 2 1-mana spells and you want to, like, let's say, for example, you want to use 1 mana now and 1 mana later to activate something, say like an animation module. You can't really with Manamorphose, you have to commit both mana at once. It's not really a free card in that sense. Like say Hardened Skills, right? If you thought it could play the card, or Affinity, not really, just you might want 1 mana, you might want to activate a land. You may not have green or red.
So if that's the case, then what does push a player towards playing it? Since it does have some drawbacks over being completely free, it does have some benefits too.
Right. I mean, Izzet Phoenix, like, essentially says you have to play free spells. A spell that is free is perfect for that card. It also works with Prowess, Soft Monastery, Swift Spear, and Thing in the Ice, and other spells matter kind of critical mass card. So it's really good in those type in this archetype of Izzet Phoenix because it enables all that. You know, at the low cost of 0 mana once you have access to 2.
Michael Burnett wearing his Andrew Luck jersey. He took it off for 1 round at the PT and was like, forget this, and put it right back on. It does say Luck on the back, so you can guess why he's wearing it.
It's very apropos.
Also interesting, for these two guys, because being both big football fans. Paul Rietzel, of course, is a huge football fan as well. He's from the Boston area. He's a fan of the much maligned Patriots. Everybody else hates the Patriots.
Is that what it's?
Works, yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm not, unfortunately, as... see, for me, football involves kicking a ball around with your foot.
With your foot, right, yeah. You're one for accuracy?
Yeah, I am definitely one from accuracy.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm not entering this fray with you. you win that one.
I've unfortunately been in too many conversations about the English League's 4th division.
Oh, geez, that sounds bad. Yeah, I had the really unfortunate circumstance of there was a Grand Prix in San Jose here in California, not too far away from where we're at right now, a few years ago, and this was when my football team, American football team,
sure.
the Seahawks were in the Super Bowl against Paul's team. And I was doing coverage, but I was off that round and I was watching, and the Seahawks ended up making a critical error late in the game, except for Paul got a chance to watch it before I did, and when I looked up, I saw him running by me with his arms to his sides like a bird floating on the sky, and I thought, well, this did not go well for me. Well, let's see what happens here in the early stages for Paul. He's got the hardened scales, first things first.
Were his arms roughly the shape of the energy coming out of this of Golran?
So brutal, Eduardo, because I was watching it on the screen, but it was on a slight delay.
Okay.
And he had seen that we had thrown an interception on the goal line, and yeah, he was really happy, and I was really not happy.
That's so much arcane language. I'd rather speak about this hangerback
walk. By the way, Paul's team also made the finals of that event.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was a good weekend for Paul, although they didn't end up winning it. That was the Pork Bun Oath won that one.
He did win a finals, though, Paul, right?
Yeah.
You know,
him and Dave Williams.
The Ultimate Pro Team finals?
He was on that team, yes. The Ultimate Guard Pro Team, yeah, they are the Team Series champions. The last one of that as well.
As well as Reed Duke, who's on...
Yeah. He gave us a thumbs up.
Yeah, he likes to be reminded about that great moment,
yeah.
I think.
I feel like I was a big part of that, too, because I got to silently sit in the room while they built all of their sealed decks on the days before.
That was a sweet format, right? It was Guilds of Ravnica before the set was known?
Yes, it was brand new. It was a really special moment for me, or 11 hours, I should say, for me, because I got to watch, they're the best team in the world, right? And they went in with a brand new set and were taking apart the set, just dismantling it, right? Like, this is what's good, this is what's not. And I got to see some of the things that surprised me, as a lot of the stuff is just like, well, I'm going to try this out and just see what happens, rather than like any type of hardcore theory crafting or whatever, but it was great. So what's going on here, Eduardo? This looks like a good start for Rietzel.
Nonsense is going on.
Yeah, but I mean, are we in
good
full
nonsense
mode yet, or what?
The problem
this is like mildly nonsensical, right?
The problem is Paul doesn't have many cards left in hand, and one of them is a Mox Opal. So
okay, that's nonsense.
Well, what Paul needs is an Arcbound Ravager to really go over the top. But this Hangerback Walker is doing a good. It's this early on. Getting so many counters on it is going to be an issue for Michael Burnett, and this Welding Jar means that the Steel Overseer is probably going to absorb 2 removal spells. So yeah, Paul here definitely using the Welding Jar. Interestingly, regenerate being old Magic text. When the creature does regenerate, which is it takes lethal damage or it would be destroyed, then you tap it. Which
And
isn't...
you remove it from combat.
Yes. So this
Weird.
is... you have to remove it from combat. Like, what if it was blocking? It gets weird.
Yeah.
What if you have a double strike creature? That's why you have to remove it from combat. But no, you know, and this isn't relevant here, but it has been... Ooh. Nice one there. But it has been relevant in some situations in the past where tapping a creature like Steel Overseer can make its ability go off at the wrong time, or you can remove a creature, like a blocker essentially, if that was your goal. If your goal wasn't to remove the creature but just remove a blocker, then that can be enough a lot of the time as well. So it's important to remember if you're facing Welding Jar that destroying the creature still means it's tapped and won't be able to block that turn.
So Paul's plan here is just to activate the Hangerback Walker and hope that his creatures survive. Is that the name of the game?
Well,
Oop, one of them's not surviving. So a 2-for-2 there, but Michael Bernat's going to feel pretty good about getting rid of that key permanent there, the Steel Overseer. That card really does get completely out of hand with Hardened Scales. But the Hangerback Walker's kind of doing its thing on its own anyway.
yeah. And Paul didn't kind of make the Hangerback Walker larger when Michael was tapped out, just because in case Michael has something like a Swift Spear. So that was why you saw that sequence essentially. Normally, you'd want to tap the Hangerback Walker when you have the opportunity, but the ability to block a Swift Spear is pretty important.
Ooh, Walking Ballista now from Rietzel.
Ceremonious Rejection is a beautiful Magic card, though.
Served up and rejected.
Yeah. What a
Wow,
beautiful...
that is nice sideboard tech there. Rietzel's just going to play an untapped Mox Opal so he can activate his Hangerback Walker again. And he's kind of all in on that at this point. I mean, but what, it's going to be at 6 by the time it gets to his turn? Ooh, that could be a problem.
Thing in the Ice is a very good answer to Hangerback Walker.
Right, either way.
Oh, well, yeah. Either against its tokens
Right.
or itself, yeah. It's the cleanest answer to Hangerback. This is the matchup I'm kind of worried about when I'm playing the Hardened Scales deck, is the Izzet Phoenix deck, just because of they attack you from a lot of different angles. They have cheap interaction that's relevant against you in the form of Ceremonious Rejection post board, Lightning Bolt, sometimes Gut Shot. And Thing in the Ice is just, I mean, it's literally a horror. And yeah, it means that Paul is attacking with Hangerback Walker because making it larger is not really going to do much more. Attacking for 6 is about as good as it gets. But yeah, we're going to start seeing the sequence from Michael here.
Yeah, if he can string together a few more Manamorphos, that could be a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's very good with Thing in the Ice. Most likely we're going to see this Thing in the Ice transform, not this turn, but the next one, unless Michael draws very well or has it already. But it could easily transform, you know, like something... Oh, drawing here a land and having access to 2 mana, that might be good enough, depending on what Michael drew. And once this transforms, I mean, Paul would be in a big disadvantage speed-wise. Michael would be able to attack for 7. That opt. Actually, depending on Michael's hand, I see a Thought Scour and a Lightning Axe. So kind of no matter what mana Michael floated with the Spirebluff Canal, that Thing in the Ice is transforming. And because that Thing in the Ice is transforming, that is a lot of damage coming.
Right, and it's really going to set Rietzel back significantly here. This one looking really bad for Paul Rietzel. Michael Bernat could have been in perfect position here thanks to Awoken Horror and its ability to just send everything back.
Yeah, and Michael had the choice of taking that Faithless Looting or not. Oh, wow. Arclight Phoenix as well. More damage. Coming right in.
And we're already there, right, for the Phoenix. That was spell number 3.
I like how Paul Rietzel's board is so much more developed, and yet Michael is quite far ahead.
Yeah.
But here...
By the way, really cool to see 2 completely different game plans here for Michael Bernat, right? In the first one, he was all in, right? Yeah. I mean, he was like, you know, just do everything I can to get as much damage in as quickly as possible. And now, a much different game plan. Awoken Horror now transforming here is going to send back the other creatures, and he's taking a different stance. Now he's going to kind of take his time, transform this thing, and start jamming.
Yeah, the fact, you know, Thing in the Ice transforming into Awoken Horror, essentially casting enough of these spells, Michael kind of just doing his thing, and that thing is just more powerful, just lines up well against what the Hardened Scales Affinity deck tries to do, right? Being able to return all those creatures, and all Michael did was just draw cards. It wasn't like he pointed a single removal spell apart from those lightning bolts early on Welding Jar and Steel Overseer. And here with Arclight Phoenix and Awoken Horror, this is 10 damage coming in.
All right, Paul. I mean, if Paul's plan is to simply replay the creatures he already had, that ain't going to do it.
Probably not, no.
I mean, he's going to be forced to chump block with one of them. Maybe it's just a hangerback walker scenario.
So there's kind of two...
just make a 3/3 walker and try to hang around for a while.
There's kind of two options that Paul could go for. Option one is to make hangerback walker for one with Steel Overseer, so basically 2, and then you could use the Steel Overseer. The other one is this one, where you make hangerback walker for free tokens and hope that next turn with Steel Overseer and whatever you might draw, that will be good enough. But yeah, Michael here is pretty far ahead.
I kind of wonder what Paul even has available to him,
If he draws Arcbound Ravager.
Okay, sure. We've seen that before.
Oh, yeah, we have.
Here's Opt from Burnett.
And Michael's hand is stacked with interaction. There's an Abrade in there, along with that Lightning Axe, unless it's been discarded to Faithless Looting, and just capable of dealing with any of Paul Rietzel's kind of threats, except for this Hangerback Walker, but it's going to be dealt with really cleanly. All Michael has to do is just attack into it.
Right. Rietzel at 10, Burnett with 10 power on the battlefield, forced trades, or forced chump blocks, I should say.
Yeah, Awoken Horror deals a lot of damage really fast. I mean, it got rid of Paul's board and dealt 7.
Yeah.
And then that Arclight Phoenix came along.
Yeah, huge clock. It looks like Burnett's going to go for a Thought Scour to see if he can hit another Arclight Phoenix here. Ooh!
He does.
That's exactly what happens. Boy, this really makes life difficult for Rietzel.
I mean, it was already hard enough.
Yeah, totally. It already looked bad. Now it looks really bad. Michael Burnett kind of putting on a show here.
Yeah, I mean,
six.
Yeah, definitely showcasing the power of this Izzet Phoenix deck. I mean, it's a new deck to Modern just because this card got printed in Guilds of Ravnica, and it's already changing Modern very quickly.
Yeah, well, some storms never blow over, So Paul makes the obligatory block, falls down to 4, gets himself 3 Thopters, might be able to survive another turn, but where do we go from here?
Yeah. I don't know, there's just not many places to go. I mean, these Thopters are nice in the sense that they can stop, but Michael has interaction kind of against anything Paul can do. Yeah, I mean, these Overseers would be great if Paul could untap with them. But already these Thopters have to be in front of at least an Arclight Phoenix and an Awoken Horror, so we're losing 2 Thopters at least.
Yeah. Boy, Paul just needed that one turn, and I mean, in Modern, obviously a turn's an eternity, but boy, look at this board. He's so well set up to absolutely dominate, even through what he sees here, but it just looks like it's going to be too late unless he can find a little more action.
Yeah, but I think this is the problem with Steel Overseer in this matchup. It lines up so poorly against what your opponent's doing. Hangerback Walker's awkward against Awoken Horror, but is good against the removal. But yeah, that's I found trying to play this matchup that Steel Overseer. I mean, it's a card you want, and on the play I understand for sure because you get the tempo, but your opponent still has Gut Shot. You want to deal with Inkmoth cleanly if it ever activates. It gets rid of Steel Overseer potentially. Sometimes there's that sideboard game, if you play this matchup a ton, they know that you board out Steel Overseer, so then you don't want Gut Shot. But I don't think that's where we're at. And yeah, Steel Overseer just, Gut Shot to the dome.
There's the Gut Shot, and that is the Gut Shot that prompted the concession there from Paul Rietzel.
To the dome, a gut to the dome.
Indeed. Michael Burnett is 6-0 here at GP Oakland. A great run for him to start things off. And if he can keep it up, and if this deck keeps humming along like it did that round, we could see him make a deep run in day number 2.
I mean, you saw there why that deck has been dominating on Magic Online recently. It's just very efficient at what it does, and it matches well against what the modern format is doing right now.
Yeah, it looked really good. All right, we're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll have Time Walk for you here from Oakland. We'll see you on the other side. Hey there, welcome back to the booth here at GP Oakland. Marshall Sutcliffe with Eduardo Sechgalik. We just had a quick chat with Paul Rietzel, by the way, and he said, yeah, I don't think I was going to be able to beat those draws almost regardless.
Yeah, that was a very good draw from the Phoenix deck twice. I mean, the matchup, in my view, was in their favor anyways. So if they draw like that,